Here it is, another episode of the Infinite Banter podcast. What is going on? My name is Mark Jolliffe, a.k.a. DJ Soundwave. Thanks for checking out the show. I know it's been a few weeks since I've done one of these, so thanks for checking in. Maybe some people caught up on old episodes, or some people were just like, whenever he comes back, I'll hit play again. So here it is. I was a little bit busy at our wedding a few weeks ago. That definitely took a lot of time to prepare and do, and really was an awesome experience. And I think I mentioned on here before, we were already married paperwork-wise. You know, we just never had a ceremony. And when we wanted to do one, of course, there's COVID and all kinds of things got in the way. So things took precedence. Things happened fast. Next thing you know, it's 3 years later. So thanks to everybody who came to that. It was really just an awesome experience. You know, I never realized how much planning goes into something like that. So you're doing it. And then once the day comes, it's like everything, all the work, all the time and effort, it was all worth it. So I think I was going to give like an update on the DJ guys. I'll just say this. I don't want to get too in depth with it because there's a lot I could talk about, but they did the right thing. They did not play the bad music. I think I might have scared them a little bit. They just were not great at knowing which songs to play together. I think basically the way it works is not everybody that calls himself a DJ is actually a DJ. Just because you got a lot of songs on some sort of technical device does not necessarily mean you know what it takes to put those songs together and to work a crowd or to work a room or whatever. They did their job and they did everything they know how to do. But the essence of a true DJ is not just pressing buttons and having a bunch of songs on a track list that you play. So anyway, we got through it. It's done. I can't complain too much. I'll leave it alone. They did not play all the bad songs I complained about. So if that was the bar, they passed the bar. So there you go. But today's show, man, I am excited about this one. Speaking of music, I'm a huge fan. Well, first of all, I'm a huge fan of LL Cool J. That goes without saying. But I feel like I'm one of the few people who really love his third album, Walking with a Panther. There was a time when a lot of people looked at that album as he fell off, he's not LL anymore, because that's what sparked Mama Said Knock You Out, because people were calling him out, saying, you know, he had too many love songs, or he was too much about this and that, and he wasn't really saying anything. And first of all, they're wrong. That album's great. I mean, I love songs. You could skip those. But other than that, but that's what got Mama Said Knock You Out going, because he kept hearing all that. And he's like, yeah, all right, you guys keep talking all this shit, coming back hard and, just knocking dudes out. Mo D probably still feels it to this day. But speaking of that album, the photographer, the guy behind the cover of that iconic image of him with the Panther in the alley, Ricardo Betancourt, is coming on the show today. We're going to talk about everything that went into the creation of that cover for Walking with the Panther. So stay tuned. Ricardo Betancourt is here. We're going to talk about his iconic cover for Walking with the Panther. But before we go forward, we always go back. And let's go back to my last episode. And I had my man Piff Penny on, and we talked about a lot of stuff. And specifically, we talked about how everybody has their own top 5 MCs. And he basically states that, hey, I can come out here and write something anytime and go up against anybody you're talking about because they're not recording anymore. So instead of me talking about it, let's let Piff talk about it. Here we go. Piff Penny from the last episode of the Infinite Banter podcast. Flashback.
I already know my capabilities, you know what I'm saying? I grew up listening to your top 5, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I know every last one of them at their peak. And a lot of them, and none of them are at their peak right now. That's my top 5, none of them.
No, that's true, peak, man.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Definitely go back and check out that episode if you've not heard it with my man Piff Penny talking about his new EP with Skinny Bones, The Godfather, Penny for Your Thoughts. So definitely go check that out. Big salute to Piff Penny. He's been on the show multiple times. It's always good to talk to him. But yeah, he was talking about top 5 MCs, and LL Cool J's got to be in that conversation every time you think of it. I don't know how you don't have him at least in your top 10. So we're going to talk about LL Cool J, but specifically the cover for this third album from 1989, Walking with a Panther. And we're talking with Ricardo Betancourt, the photographer behind that cover, the man who helped sculpt that cover to where it is, to me, one of the most iconic covers of all time. And I wanted to do something different for 50 years of hip-hop, not just focus on the music and the artist, but some of the behind-the-scenes stuff. And to me, album covers are almost as important as the music that's on the albums. And when you see that cover, it's supposed to give you an idea what you're about to get, what you're going to listen to. And these covers stand the test of time. I mean, this album came out in 1989, and I'm still bugging out on that cover. And that's why I wanted to talk to Ricardo about it. So stay tuned. Ricardo Betancourt is here. We're going to talk about this album cover and much, much more from him. He's done album covers for Santana and Ruben Blades and a lot of other artists. So stay tuned. Ricardo Betancourt will be on the show shortly. And also, when I do this interview with Ricardo Betancourt, I would strongly suggest it probably would help. I know it's not easy. Some people listen to this on their phones, or they're at work maybe, or driving, so that'll be a little hard to do. But it might be a good idea if you pull out the record or pull up the image and check it out while we're talking, because there's a lot of stuff in there that if you haven't seen that cover in a long time, or maybe you're not even familiar with it at all, it would help, I think, if you're looking at it while we're talking about it, because you'll see some of the stuff that we're talking about on there. So trying to make this a little more interactive, this episode. It's like, I remember as a kid, I used to have these books that came with a tape. Like there was a Star Wars one. I think I had an Indiana Jones one as well. Might have been for Temple of Doom. But with the Star Wars one, you get the book, you play the tape, and it's like when you hear R2-D2 and he does the whistle sound, that's when you turn the page. And I think the Indiana Jones one was when he cracks the whip, turn the page. So you're reading along in the book, and it's basically giving you like a summary of the movies. So it's kind of similar to that. I don't have any sound effects to play to tell you to look at the back cover versus the front cover. Whatever, man. But yeah, if you want to check out the cover while you're listening to this, I think that would enhance the interactive experience of this episode and hearing what Ricardo and I talk about with this cover. There's a lot of detail on here, and definitely can't wait to talk to him about this cover. So definitely stay tuned for that. But this is the Infinite Banter podcast. You can hear it on all streaming platforms. Follow the show on social media. Still on Twitter. I don't call it X or whatever the heck it's called now, but I'm there until they start telling me I got to pay money. Then I will bounce immediately. I will be out of there. At Infinite Banter Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Rate and review the show on all the streaming apps. Check out the Spotify playlist. There is a YouTube page with clips from past guests on there. And definitely, support, reply, retweet, repost, all those things. Definitely appreciate all the feedback and support. But let's get into it. Ricardo Betancourt is here. We're going to talk about Walking with a Panther, the iconic cover of LL Cool J's third studio album. But before we do anything, another legend from Queens, the one and only DMC, gets on. He says this, and the show begins.
Yo, what's up? This is me, DMC, the K-I-N-G, the greatest MC in history. And right now, you're listening to Infinite Banter, because we will banter on forever, because this is the only place for all of y'all to ever be. I be Infinite Banter.
You're tuned into the Infinite Banter podcast. I am Mark Jolliffe, a.k.a. DJ Soundwave, and longtime listeners of this podcast know how much I love LL Cool J's third album, Walking with a Panther. Well, on today's show, we have the man behind that iconic cover, and he's done covers for artists like Ruben Blades and Santana. Welcome to the show, photographer and artist, the one and only Ricardo Betancourt. What's up, man?
Hey, how are you, Mark?
I appreciate
nice talking to you.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much for coming on here. It's an honor to talk with you. You've done so much work over the years, and of course, the one that caught my attention was Walking with a Panther. But before we get into that, just let people know, that are listening, your background. Like, when did you first start doing photography and art? How long have you been doing that kind of work?
Well, in 1977, I went to London International Film School. That's where I started taking pictures and getting myself ready to come back to New York, because I wanted to bring something to contribute to photography, images. And in a way, it worked, because I actually created a base on black and white photography and cinematography, which is what they teach in England, and they're very good at it. So I arrived in New York with that base. I landed in 1980. Like, what is going to happen now?
Right.
And in I started doing all kinds of things, still life and a lot of liquor account advertising and all that. But in 1983, I met Ruben Blades in a set. They rented my studio. Leon Chasso, the director for a movie they were shooting called Super. Leon Chasso just passed away. It was one of my best great friends, that era.
Uh-huh.
This film director actually brought him into the studio, and we started talking. And he said, "I have an album, Buscando America, Searching for America, that needs an image." So he sang me the whole album while they were waiting to be filmed in the studio, and we set to meet later on. And when he came, he had an image and a drawing of an image that was exactly the same. And from there on, the album cover situation in my life started, with that work. And that was 83. Then I did a whole bunch of other things, but I kept doing album covers until 1989. That Russell Simmons called me and said, we have a problem because LL Cool J shot this image in LA with a Panther, and the Panther looked, dead.
So
because
that's a
because
problem.
in LA they sedate the animals. In New York you couldn't
Right.
do that. New York, you have to work with the animals. So it was a big challenge. I called my agent and we produced with all that. We took care of all the things. We had to solve the logistics. We were doing it outside on the street. We had to fence a whole alley. We had to have policemen with high power guns in case the panther would go crazy. And it was a big challenge. But the big challenge actually pay back because he was very happy with the image. Russell Simon was happy. Everybody was happy. And this album, in a way, has had an impact in my life. Like Buscando America. Because the album outlived a lot of other people in that industry. And he himself, he has outlived like so many. And I'm so glad, that he's. My wife just told me that he has a program called Lip Sync.
Oh
And
yeah, right.
that makes me feel good that he has survived,
Yeah.
and the album cover has survived. It became platinum and all that. But to me, the most important thing is that the image and him have survived. Like Ruben Blades have survived, Santana has survived. And that to me is very important.
Yeah, and Ruben Blades, you can see him on Fear the Walking Dead. He's on there on that show every week when that comes back on AMC, and he's in a lot of
Right.
movies. And of course, Santana, legendary artist. And me
Yeah.
personally, I just saw LL Cool J do a concert about 2 months ago here in
Oh my
Chicago. He
God.
did the Four
Wow.
Stories, got a new album coming out, and had legends like Rakim and Dougie Fresh and
Oh my
Slick
God.
Rick on the stage with him.
It's
So
it's
yeah,
amazing.
he's still doing
Wow.
it, and
It's it's unbelievable. That in a way keeps me going. When you asked me to do this podcast, I went and I pulled out the album. And there was an article in the New York Times in August about the jury of hip hop. The art.
right.
It was, and his knuckle piece of jewelry is there. 50 years of American art form. And when I saw that, I said, wow, this guy, amazing. He has survived. And that's very important.
Yeah, and
Very
this
important.
this album came out in 1989, so we're talking about over 30 years ago that this happened. and
Yeah.
and for yourself, like when you first got that call, were you familiar with LL Cool J's work? Did you even know what the album? Did you hear the album? Did you know anything about it before you guys started shooting
Yes,
it?
yes, yes, because I was doing, see, I was struggling, surviving in New York. And when you're surviving and when you're hungry, you're very open to all kinds of experiments. And I was doing things for Cutting Records. It was a small hip hop record company in a basement, and we did that. We did a lot of things on hip hop, and I listened to a lot of music, and I actually I there were a lot of kids, from the Bronx involved, like Little Louis Vega. I photographed him for Atlantic record. Cutting Records was probably an eye opener. Say, wow, these people are doing all these things.
Right.
So this is really like a mine, gold mine. So I did a lot of work in 80s and 90s. Besides, I did a lot of Latin music also. Very important albums with Tito Puente, Palmieri. All the artists of the 80s, Willie Colon and Celia Cruz. It was an honor
Oh
to
man.
actually
Yeah.
actually
Willie
work
Colon is
with
a
that
legend
woman.
at Puerto Rico, right? Yeah.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
he was. These guys were coming from the 70s, and into the 80s, and they were like Fania Records. They were making a lot of noise.
Right.
Like hip hop then started making a lot of noise. Also, but the whole movement of hip hop, Latin music, and it was all entangled, like in one big ball of energy, and I was lucky to be there at the right time, and those were memorable years for me, really cool.
Yeah, and doing those early album covers, like you said before, do you have any idea how Russell even got your name? Like, how did that happen? How did Russell even know to call you?
Russell Simmons, he was paying attention to everything that was happening at that time.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful to him. He actually, so probably, Buscando America was the first Latin crossover album with Elektra Records, and Bruce Lumbaugh was at the head of Elektra Records then. Then he went to Blue Note label, which is in jazz. That's one of the most important, if not the most important label at that time, and for many, many years. And he actually, Russell probably saw that I was doing things, and he called me directly in and asked me if I could do this, because they were releasing the album and they had no image because
That's a problem.
the dead Panther in LA didn't work.
You got to get a New York Panther, right? That's the only way to do it.
Yeah, New York, you get things done. You know how it is? It's like whatever you need, whatever you get things done there. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and the cover is so iconic. I'm holding the record right now, and I'm looking at it, and just the idea that you guys got a Panther to wear a rope chain, a gold necklace. It's just, it's so crazy to me. And he looks like it's natural. Like it's not natural, but of course in this album cover.
Well, I was just actually talking about it with my wife. But okay, he came with this gold chain, right? And who's going to put it around the neck of that Panther, right? And okay. So I talked to the trainers and they say, well, we'll try, And because it was a young Panther and she was a little bit restless because it was raining and it was lightning, which is two things they don't like.
Right.
So we let her run around the fence area and for a while. And then he attempted putting it on, and she let him do it, and she was very cool about it. And it's something you have to test as you go, like anything else. The people have to be comfortable with, like the three girls in the back of the cover. They had to be comfortable because if not, the whole thing would look like stage or too. They're too nervous. Everybody's like, then LA would be nervous, and everybody would, and then we had no shot, no picture.
Yeah.
But everything worked out. It took some time, and we were very patient, and the animal performed with him, and he got what he wanted. That image in the front is exactly what he wanted.
Right.
Exactly what he wanted.
And you talk about that back cover. I mean, those three women in the background, if one of them is scared, to be around that Panther, something might not work, right? They've got to look natural in that moment.
No, exactly. And, those were times there was no touch up there, no, computer tricks. No.
Yes, it's all shots.
It's a straight shot, he was very close to the Panther, as you can see in the picture, basically around maybe 2.5, 3 feet behind, and when you start flashing and there's rain and lightning, and it's very hard to get that, direction from the eyes of the Panther and his eyes into the lens, and then let that come through. I'm looking at the image right now, and that happened. That one shot is what we wanted. Boom, that one.
Perfect.
And it happened, and it's great.
We're talking about it here in 2023, Ricardo. That's what's so great about it. We're still talking about this album cover in so many years, and you brought up that it rained. It does. You could tell when you look at it. Now that you say that, it kind of has like an after rain effect kind of feel to it, like in that alleyway or whatever.
Yeah, you can see it in the cobblestone. Actually, that helps us too, because the cobblestone, when they're wet, they look better. And the Panther is wet also. If you look around, she's wet. The whole thing, actually, she shines, and the cobblestone shines. So it worked out for us, for everybody.
Right.
And it was a lucky thing that. But usually, when you're, I learned this in my photography life. You have to be lucky. Because if you're not lucky, that moment might not come. You know, and you can do anything you want, but the moment might not come, especially when you're shooting straightforward pictures,
Right.
live. Painting is different, which is what I'm doing now. I've been painting for 16 years now. I moved to Spain, and I started painting in 2009. But painting is yeah, you have to be lucky also, but then you have a lot of time to process the image in your brain. When you're shooting an album cover like this with so many elements, and you are actually waiting for the moment to come.
Right.
The moment might not come, no, and we wouldn't be talking about it now, right?
Exactly. And you're talking
Because so
about
many.
so many factors. I mean, you've got a live Panther, you've got three women, you've got LL, you've got the rain and
Oh, yeah.
everything you're talking about. Just public people probably walking by and having to block off the street. All that has to come together for that one
Yeah,
shot that
yeah.
worked out for a
Oh,
legendary
and
album cover.
he came in his convertible Mercedes, man. In the promotion picture, you see that, and 10 cases of champagne.
Oh man, that's what they're holding, right? The women in the
Uh,
background. Yeah.
yeah, all you needed was one case, right? No, they came with 10 cases. I guess they had plans for the party after.
Yes.
But
Did you drink any afterwards? Did they pop the bottles once everything was done?
well, I was very busy, dealing with taking everything down and making sure that the Panther would go home with with
Yeah, that's another
with
one.
with the other Panther. There were two Panthers.
Oh, I see.
One that came out first. I was 4 years old, and that one didn't behave, so they had to put her back in the cage, and then they have a backup. They had a backup. It's a 9 month, almost fully grown. But she behaved better because she was not, like a 4 year old panther becomes more like what they are supposed to be, no?
Right.
Predators, animals of the
Yes.
jungle. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
How was LL to work with? Was he pretty cool around the Panther? Was he a little
Very,
scared? Yeah.
super cool.
Yeah.
This guy, I actually knew his history because he was from Queens. He lived with his grandma, and he lived in the basement. He would make music there, and the grandma was very supportive of him. And that's why in the next album he has a very famous song dedicated to her.
Right. Mama
Uh,
said knock you out. Right.
oh my God, yeah, he had a lot of respect for this guy. A lot of respect for him. Definitely put some incredible values in him. And, no, he was very gentle to work with him. Very, very good. I work with other rappers, and let me tell you, nothing like him. I would have worked with him many times. There are other people that I wouldn't work with, at that time because they were in a different kind of mind frame. No, he was a really cool. That's
Yeah.
why his name is LL
I was gonna
Cool J.
say, it's right there in the name, in case you didn't know.
uh, Absolutely. Oh yeah.
And where was
Uh,
that shot? Where is that in Queens, Brooklyn? Like what
No,
borough was
no,
that
it was
in?
in the village.
Oh,
It
it's in the
was in the
village.
village.
Okay.
We looked for an alley. It was in the West Village, close to the West Side Highway, on 15 feet fence. That was the regulation. The city, in order to get a permit, I needed an alley that I could fence in the back. You don't see the fence because it's in the dark in the back, and a fence in front where we were shooting, and we had like a door in case something goes wrong. You escape through the door, but
Right.
and then you had I was more nervous uh, about the policemen with the high-powered guns behind this. There were two. In Mayan, if something goes wrong and they try to shoot the Panther, that would have been fatal. So,
Oh wow.
but everything went really, really great. It was a great night, and that Panther is still in my memory, like for forever. It's like right there. Yeah.
It says a lot about the cover because I'm looking at it again, and the way the Panther's looking at me as I'm looking at the cover, you kind of get that feeling like it's a timeless, like almost like the Panther's soul is in this album cover. And
Exactly. Absolutely, I believe that
yeah,
because remember, I don't want to bring this up, but I just read something about in the '90s. For example, Tupac. Like I'm pronouncing his name correctly, and his parents were both from the Black Panther movement and all that. The whole Black Panther thing was actually still alive, no,
yeah,
from previous years of all kinds of protests but in a way I don't know if he was thinking about that when he brought the idea of the panther, but the panther is very symbolic. Even if you don't think about the Black Panther movement, it's there. The Black Panther is very symbolic, and it's a very strong symbol of the black movement of the previous years. No,
for sure.
it's very important. I think now that I think about it again, yeah, it is. And I think that's one of the reasons why that album cover and the image, is kind of eternal. Because the Black Panther is right there in the front of the image.
Yeah.
Like, looking at you like, okay, don't mess up with us here.
Right.
It's like, wow.
And Black
Really.
Panther, of course, with the Marvel movies and stuff, is definitely taken on another, status.
Exactly. Remember,
So
yeah. Oh, again, imagine they brought her back again in the big screen.
right.
Oh my
So
goodness! Wow.
yeah, this cover, like everybody listening, if you don't have it, definitely get your cover. And I just noticed by LL's foot there is a puddle of water. I never noticed that before until you talked about the rain aspect. And then
Yeah.
there's a lot of graffiti in the background. It's really faint, but you could see it. I don't know if that's still there to this day. It's probably been washed off over the years.
Right.
But
Well, the West Village was not as loaded with graffiti as the East Village. For example, I did a few albums in the East Village for Cutting Records and Polygram, Sapphire, and the walls wow, in the East Village are loaded.
yeah,
No, especially because that's where it comes from. No, like
right.
that's where graffiti was like. All over the walls. It was, and but here in the West Village is a little bit more clean, which is maybe better for the picture because you here you don't want to be distracted too much, with graffiti on the wall. I think it would work for us that there's minimum graffiti is there, but
Right.
it's not invading the image,
Right. And it definitely looks authentic. It doesn't look like you guys just put it up there. It doesn't say LL Cool J on it or something. It's
No.
obviously the graffiti that was
Right.
there before you guys got there. And
Exactly. Yeah, everything. Well, it's the beauty of shooting in New York. It's authentic. New York it's like a backdrop that has been created there through the
right.
years.
And then you've got the suitcase with the handcuffs, and then you've got like he's a spy or
Well,
something.
you asked me what was in that suitcase. I never found out. I never did. And why the handcuffs?
It's a mystery.
You're gonna have to ask him that.
All right, get LL on the show here. We're gonna ask him what's in that suitcase. It's kind of like, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Pulp Fiction. The same thing. There's a briefcase in that movie that they never reveal what's in it. So there's
Right.
two briefcases that I need to find out what the contents are. And any did you have any idea about like his wardrobe? He's got the hat. He's got the 4-finger ring and everything. Did you have any say in that, or was that all just how it showed up?
No. He knows. He knew exactly what he wanted. So he did, his own thing, and he knew exactly what he wanted. So no, I didn't interfere in at all. That was his image, his look. Look at the Cool J piece of jewelry is in the New York Times magazine now in August 2023. So he knew exactly what he wanted to put out there that will become like part of his legend.
Right.
The whole thing, the chain, the handcuffs and the suitcase are I don't know.
He's still a
Again,
mystery.
you're gonna have to ask him.
Yeah.
Point.
I'll have to find a
Right,
way to get him on here if it's at all possible.
right.
Like, LL, I don't care about anything except what's in the suitcase. Me and Ricardo need to know right now what's in there.
Yeah, right. Oh yes.
But,
Well, that's what he wanted.
yeah,
People to think about and ask about it.
right. See?
Absolutely.
And it just handcuffs on it, so you know it's important. Or at least the perception that it's important. It could just be girls' phone numbers. It could just be that. It could be his black book. Who knows?
Oh
But
God.
yeah, I mean, 30-something years later, any lasting thoughts? Like, does it blow your mind when people still bring up this album cover to you after all these years?
Yes, it does. Absolutely, it does. It's like Buscando America. That album is 1983, mine. That one is way back, and people still talking about it. In a way, that is what really started my career. In the music business. I did all the things, but in the music business, Buscando America, and then those albums were classic. The 100th album of Tito Puente, I did. Wow, and that blew my mind also. Because he's a legend. Tito Puente is something that everybody knows that he was the king,
Right.
and Celia Cruz was the queen. So those two guys, with together with Ruben Blades and Santana, and yeah, I can keep on. In jazz, I did people that I always like. The drummer Steve Gadd, and all those people. Of course, they are my history with images in music. And of course, they're going to stay there with me forever. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and it shows so many years later we're still talking about it. And was there any thought that maybe you might do LL's next album cover or any other hip hop artist? Was there any other ones that you were considering doing after this?
You mean now or then?
Oh, or both.
No.
It was like after you did this album cover, did you get? Can you do mine? Was there a
Oh,
lot of that
oh
afterwards?
yeah. A lot of things came after that. It's Salt and Pepper. I did incredible sessions with them.
Oh, okay.
They were really cool to work with. Really, really cool. Nylon. There were all other acts that were not as well known, but they had the means to go on location, and paid to do an image on location, which is more costly. So you have to bring the lights to the studio out, and you have to get the location. But that's the way I wanted to do things. So, if they wanted to go outside, then we had to, we have some different costs, and but it all worked out. Always worked out.
Right. And that just speaks to the era too. I mean, album covers, medium like cassettes and CDs and vinyl. That was more
Right.
back then. So that's why I think your album cover really stands out, because a lot of us grew up with this album cover and other
Right.
album covers. Where like now, I'm not saying the album covers aren't as important, but you don't hold music in our hands like we used to. We don't stare at the cover like we used to. It's on our phones, and it just doesn't have that same, I don't know how to put it, like
Yeah,
this
that
connection.
that
Yeah.
feeling. Yeah, I
Right.
know what you're saying. In a way, a lot of people are missing it. A lot of people are going back to vinyl and collecting them, and it's a beauty to have vinyl and to have the cover as a full thing and the artwork. And of course, it's great. The problem is that in modern times, everything, yeah, like you said, is on the phone. Then people have to carry the vinyl
Right.
in boxes, and then
Yeah.
but people are doing it. I go to people's houses and they have the turntable and they have the speakers, and my God, when I hear the sound, I say, wow, this is the real thing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the analog thing is like, it's a beauty.
Right.
It's not just the album cover, but the even Keith Richards said, like when you hear analog, and it's like it's like the musicians are in the room. with
Right.
but then you need the speakers and the turntable and the box of vinyl.
It's a lot of
And
work.
it's a lot of work. Then you move and you have to take them with you, and then all of that. But it's worth it. It is.
Yeah. It was
Absolutely.
and you're in New York in that era, in that when that was going on, when a lot of these great DJs and hip hop
Right.
was coming up, and all the other music genres are starting to really branch out, and it's really something.
Mm.
We all grew up in an era here, those of us that are of this age. We remember these albums and these
Right.
moments in time, and maybe we see
Right.
Ricardo on the turntables, doing some DJ stuff. Sounds like it sounds like you're interested in it.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be cool.
Wanted to bring up
Uh,
before I let you go too is like the evolution of just cameras too. I mean, you're shooting this album cover with cameras that most people don't even see anymore, right? I mean, everybody's got their phone and that's how they take pictures now. But what kind of camera were you using then?
well,
And
well, at that time, album covers, uh, I use Hasselblad, the square format, because
yeah,
the album covers are square, 2 and a quarter by 2 and a quarter, and also, again, talking about things coming back. Uh, Film is we used to shoot film, right? The texture of that album, the image is shot in film. There's nothing like it. I'm sorry. If you shoot this album in digital, uh, it has nothing to do with the
you
image
you
that
lose
I shot
something.
in film.
Yeah.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I actually shot a roll of film for the first time. I found some Nikon cameras that are 30 years old, and I wanted to test one. And I shot a roll of film, Fujicon, and I went and developed it. I took it to Manhattan, and I went through the whole thing. And when he came back, proved to me again that there's nothing like film. I'm sorry. That's why.
Yeah.
That's why. Even in cinema, the Oppenheimer, they showed that in 70 millimeter film. Because there is nothing like it. I'm sorry. There is nothing like it. Forget
Right.
about it. When I left New York, the digital world was coming in, and that's when I decided I'm out of here. 1990, 97, 1996, 97.
He threw up the
Yeah.
peace sign and said, "That's enough. I'm out of
Yeah, I
here."
had it. I'm out of here. Then I just decided that didn't want to be, I didn't want to change instruments. It's like right now I'm painting in oleo. I don't think I will go back to acrylic.
Right.
It's the same thing.
It's what you're accustomed to. It's what you maybe grew up with, or back when you were first doing photography. Obviously, that's how you were trained on it, right? So you grew up in Puerto Rico, correct? And then you moved to New
I
York, or
grew in Puerto Rico,
yeah,
but then I left when I was in my early 20s. I went to Europe, and I never went back. From Europe I went to New York,
wow,
and then from New York I went to an island. I had 2 kids that were born in a little island called Vieques. Remember the Navy island that the fishermen kicked out of the Navy off the coast of Puerto Rico.
right,
We went there for 10 years. Me and my wife. I designed a building that used to be my father's, and then we built a restaurant, 3-story restaurant. We did that for 10 years. We used to bring musicians on weekends during winter time, and we had a blast. Like
yeah,
Jerry Gonzalez from the Fort Apache Band came a few times. Friends of mine from New York, Luis Federico Ortiz and Fania Records. We had a blast. And those 10 years, produced my 2 kids as well. So then from there, we went to Spain for 16 years. And now we're here in Beacon, New York.
right.
And we're going to be here for a while next to a creek. You can hear the water. It's fantastic over here.
Oh
Really
wow.
cool.
I'm sure you get great shots every day, and I just thinking about your travels. I mean, Puerto Rico, New York, Spain, London. I've been to Puerto Rico, and I had an awesome time there, and I've been to New York, but I've never been to London or Spain, and I bet I'm sure you've got pictures out there from all these places that are just amazing shots, man, and that's just
Yeah,
awesome. How that
yeah,
probably
it is.
shaped you as an artist.
Yeah, it's important to move. I think it was a good move going back to LL Cool J. I think his move to LA was a good move, and he actually has been very successful there. He had to move because if not, you get stuck. And you don't listen to new things.
Right.
You don't see new things. And he made the right move, and he survived the move, which is important. No?
Yeah, and he's definitely grown. He's got a satellite channel. He's doing tours again.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
on TV, movies.
No, he said he did the right thing. He moved. It's like you have to move. It's not you get stuck. Yeah, that's important.
Maybe
That's
that's what
important.
was in the briefcase. It was just a note to himself saying, "You have
Yeah.
to move. Get out of New
May-
York."
Maybe that's what the suitcase is all about. Yeah, maybe whatever he got in there, help him move.
Right.
No,
There you
that's
go.
important.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask you before you go about your own current stuff. And I went on your Instagram page, and everybody, go check out Ricardo there. And there's a link, and there was a website, sachiart.com. And there's a couple pieces I really liked. There's one called My Spanish Heart I really liked a lot. I was looking at that one. And then there was The Man in the City, it had a lot of purple in it. And I'm a fan of
Oh
purple.
yeah,
So those are a
oh
couple
yeah,
that really stood out as soon as I clicked on my phone. Talk about
yeah.
what you're doing now, and the artwork people could find and follow you online and such.
Well, this summer actually, we moved here, and it's been a year now. So since I've been here, I've been painting uh, a whole different thing, portraits probably of women and portraits. I go between abstract and figurative and experimenting, always moving around because if not, I get bored. With it. I need
There's
to.
that moving theme again, right? You gotta
Yeah,
move.
again, here
Yeah,
we go. Yeah,
right,
you have to move your brain cells.
right.
And then right now I'm in the process of starting another series. I think I yesterday I nailed down what I want to do. Now I do a sketch, and then I go into the process. I do probably I did like 10 paintings during the summer, and at the end one big one, and that's my goal, just to do things and let them unfold. Not forcing anything, just let the images unfold, and then I go through that process over and over again, in painting, which is a cool process because it doesn't really put you, like against the wall. You have to do this and that. Like photography was very demanding in New York because you had to survive. So painting is different. I think it's more what comes out of you internally,
Right.
and that is something that I really enjoy doing. You know,
Yeah.
it's very cool. It's like music when you're making music, right? It has to come from from the inside. It's like
Right.
if not, then you're like copying or doing things that other people are doing.
Right. You don't want to do the same thing over and over again. You're not creative in that regard, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. No, no, no,
well, maybe
absolutely.
maybe you'll paint LL's next cover, right? The next one he does, it'll be a painting.
Well, it's very difficult to actually do paintings that are actually realistic for me.
Right.
I need to do things that are not there, that they never been there, that are new. An image that comes out that never been there before, and that's why I don't do anything that is realistic. I leave that for the masters,
Right.
that the realism. They did that all their life, and they were really good at it. Really, really good at it.
Well, everybody listening, make sure you check out. And where can they find you? I know you have an Instagram. If you want to give that out for people to follow you on Instagram, and if you do Twitter and Facebook and all those places on a website, they could follow you on.
Right. I basically am not very good with tech. I'm, and I put things on Instagram. Uh, my son, when he comes from school, he's studying at New York University. He helps me out, and my daughter. But
That's
I'm
good.
not very good at tech. And actually, this podcast with you is like a miracle. Because
Now I feel
I
important. Thanks, man. I appreciate
yeah, it's a
it.
miracle that you got me out of the cave,
Get you
to
out of the
talk
cave
to you.
and to press a phone and hit 7 numbers. I mean, that's wow. I didn't know I was performing a miracle here. Thanks though. Now I feel better.
Oh,
I could go about my day knowing that
oh God,
got
yeah,
got the artist out of the cave to talk about an album for 30 years ago. It's great,
yeah,
man.
that is quite an accomplishment.
All right.
I
See.
I can tell you that.
All right. I'll tell the wife when she gets home. You know what I did today?
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, definitely everybody should follow you on Instagram because there's a lot of samples of your work and the album covers too. And there's a link on there, and that's how I found that website to see some of your other stuff. And I think you could buy the artwork if people are interested. They can purchase it, right?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So since
Uh,
Ricardo's not tech savvy, I'll put links on this podcast episode for everybody listening. You can see his work that way, and I'll help you get the word out. So I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks so much for
So
coming out of the cave, Ricardo. I appreciate it,
you're
dude.
welcome, Mark. Anytime, and I wish you all the luck. And just keep me informed of what you're doing, also. And let's see, maybe you get Leo to talk to you,
Yeah.
and you ask him about the suitcase and the handcuffs.
I'm telling you right now, if this you're talking about miracles, about me getting you on here and getting all that. If this leads to LL coming on here, I will be indebted to you for life. So let me just tell you right now. I appreciate that even being a thought. Maybe.
Well, I'll work on it. Good luck. You always
Yeah.
need luck, but you have to have faith also
There you
in
go.
luck.
You're right.
Absolutely.
No doubt about it. And before I let you go, I just wanted to say the album cover is just iconic, and I really throw all the flowers your way. They also talk about give people their flowers. I love this album, and not just for the music on it, but the cover is just so iconic. And every time I see it, I'm always finding something new. And I didn't notice the puddle till today because you said the rain part, and I was like, how did I not see that after all these years? But I had the cassette, so it's
Right.
like really small. And now I got the
Right.
record, so I could see everything a little more visually. So just
Right.
kudos to you for such a great cover, and thanks for your time, Ricardo. And any
You're
lasting thoughts
welcome.
about the album cover? I mean, you said you've been doing your own research on it, finding about the gold chains that people have been wearing for 50 years. Has there been anything else you thought about with this album cover as you've been thinking about it the last couple of days?
Actually, I've been thinking about it probably more today because that's when I pull out the
Right.
the, the vinyl and
Oh, you have a vinyl
looking.
copy. That's even better.
Oh, I have a beautiful vinyl copy. Yeah, I have a couple, and I have all the originals, of course. And yes, actually, uh, I always see new things. You're absolutely right. There's actually there's a window in the back cover. There's a light coming out of the window here. It's this is like a window with
Oh, yeah, I see it.
metal.
Right.
We put a light in there, and you know what? I haven't thought about it in a long time. But there's a kind of light reflected
Right.
from the inside. And
Ah,
to tell you the truth, now I have to think, how did we do that? Because it is there. You see the light inside that window, and it's in a way that window is very significant because it's like a cage where
right.
probably they keep her, the panther, inside a cage,
There you go.
and now she's outside, and it's interesting. Yeah, you're absolutely right, and you keep looking at it and you keep seeing things. Like actually the two girls. Actually, one of them was Rosa Simmons' girlfriend,
Oh, I
and the other
see.
one was a sister, and the middle one I think was Ella's girlfriend that time. But don't quote me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right.
No, please. But the way that they're looking down, or their eyes are kind of closed, and then there's one looking into the camera, and Ella is looking into the camera also. Those point of direction of the eyes. It's like something also that, yeah, I've been thinking about it today because when I pull the albums, I see these things again. That are quite significant. I think the back cover is pretty strong, and the
Without a
front
doubt.
cover is the front cover, of course. But then you go to the back, and the back cover is telling a story also.
Right.
It's pretty cool. You know,
Well, it really
uh,
speaks to the album because if you play it, I don't know if you played it recently, it's kind of like two different albums. There's a lot of love songs on there, and there's a lot
exactly.
of like LL bragging about
Yeah,
how great he is,
yeah,
and so it's
yeah.
almost like two-sided covers because there's two sides of this album in a way.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. It's the way things were done before, which I again going back to like images, how important images were in vinyl in album covers because the album covers are also open, like Buscando America, I had a German reproduction of that album that is fantastic, and it opens, and all the songs are there with the mountains on the back. They did an incredible job, and that
Right.
album has one, two, three images. Inside and outside, front and back, and that's right. If you have a good if you have good results, in, a, in an album cover shoot, you want to use as many images as you can, no, to
Right.
maximize the impact, right? It's
Without
like,
a doubt.
and that's what happened here. And it's something that you're right. You through the years you see more things, more details and things
Right.
that are there. Probably in music is the same. I was listening to music the other day, Creedence Clearwater Revival, and I was listening to that group, for example. It's like there are four guys, and if you listen to it again after 50 years, and you hear sounds again that you
Right.
didn't hear before, like,
Correct.
oh my God, and I heard them for the first time in Woodstock, 1968, 69. I went to Woodstock. Man,
Oh,
now
wow.
you know my age.
That's a whole other podcast episode. Wow. Going to Woodstock.
So and the images and the sounds from that weekend still reverberating in my head, right, and then the whole idea that you listen to something or look at an image many years after and you still find new things, it's mind blowing,
Without a
It's
doubt.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And that's how, when music is really good and art is really good, I think it is lasting like that. And you get something new every time you see it. And I think
Exactly.
that's what comes through with your album cover here and all the work that you've done, of course. But this one, since we're talking about this one specifically, it really
Right.
stands out. And I just
Right.
really thank you for, like you said, getting out the cave and being able to do this. It was pretty cool to talk to you, man. And
Except for that that mystery, that little mystery
yeah,
there.
we got to find this out. I'm going to have to, I'm
I
going to
don't
get
think
on the
he's.
case.
I don't think he's going to tell you
No,
ever.
no.
I don't think so.
First of all, he'll
No.
probably hang up the phone, like, "Who are you?" and then hang up, and then that's he's like, "Wait, who's this guy? Why is he asking me these questions in 2023 about a suitcase?"
Right.
He probably
Exactly.
doesn't have any idea that he even had it still. But
Right. He
nah,
may tell you. He may tell you it's not your business.
there it is. You're right. I'll hit you over the head with the suitcase. How about that? I'll tell Ricardo, but I'm not telling you. he
Oh
can know
my
because he was
God.
there that day. So.
Wow.
But no, thanks so much for coming on. It's really an honor to have you on and just reminisce about that day and shooting this iconic cover and just talking about it. I'm sure you'll get asked about it again down the line here. And yeah, if we ever get the scoop on what's in that suitcase, I will definitely let you know.
Well, you're welcome, and anytime.
I
Um,
appreciate it.
and good luck with everything else coming into your life.
Oh, thanks so
Absolutely.
much. I appreciate that, and same to you as well. I look forward to seeing more art on your website and everything. And people will go out there, go follow Ricardo online and check out everything he's done. And just a big salute for coming on the show here. I really appreciate all your time.
Thank
man.
you.
Oh, thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Oh, you're
Thank you.
welcome.
Have a nice day.
You too, Ricardo. Thank you so much.
Take care, Mark.
All right, take care, man.
Bye.
That was really cool talking to Ricardo Betancourt. I had such a blast going down memory lane and just talking about that album cover. Like I said at the beginning of the episode, and I've said before on this podcast, I am a huge fan of that album. If you've not heard it, go listen to it. Definitely really glad to have talked to Ricardo about it. Just got a lot of feedback about that album cover and, there's little things I didn't notice before. I got to give a big shout out to my guy, DJ Real One. He gave me the vinyl copy. I only had the cassette. Back when it came out, I bought that cassette copy, but I never had a vinyl. And the reason why the vinyl is so crucial is just that you could see more of the detail in the cover. With the cassette, it's so small that I missed a lot. So I'm looking at it while I'm talking to Ricardo here, and I didn't notice the puddle, where his right foot is. He's kind of standing in a puddle. I didn't really notice the graffiti in the background. There's a lot of little bits of detail that, unfortunately, the cassette tape, and maybe even the CD for that matter, just doesn't give you because it's at such a small scale. But when you see the record, it's all those details just pop out. And it's just much more clear at how much work went into that and how much details in that photo. But definitely go check out Ricardo. Check him out on IG. Just look up Ricardo Betancourt, and you can find him online. There's a link on his Instagram, and I'll put a link on this episode here. So if you're listening to this, there's a show note section, and I'll have a link to his webpage. But you can go to saatchiart.com. That's SAATCHIART.com. Just type in Ricardo Betancourt. You'll find his stuff. But I did want to say one thing about this album, besides the cover, which I think is just amazing, of course. Just the track listing on here. So depending on what you had when you first heard it, the cassette had the most songs, which is crazy to think about. The CD and vinyl did not have as many songs as the cassette did. The cassette, when I bought it, it had like 4 bonus tracks. Now, as a kid, I didn't really know what that meant, as in like, why did this have bonus songs? Because I didn't have the vinyl or the CD, so I wasn't aware why it had more. I mean, I didn't know that there was a difference in, how much you could fit onto a record or a cassette. And the songs that were extra on the cassette were the best songs that he made. Like, it was Jack the Ripper and Going Back to Cali. I mean, these are like big hits for him. And if you just had the CD or vinyl version, you didn't have those records on there. I mean, those songs were huge and you heard them, but they were not included on the album. I mean, I'm looking at the vinyl cover now. Those songs are not on here. There's a song called Crime Stories. It's not on the vinyl copy. It's only on the cassette. It might be on the CD. I never had the CD, so I'm not quite sure the CD had it. But the cassette had it. The thing I liked about this album, too, is, so Jingling Baby originated on this album. A lot of people think of it as, the version of the Mama Said Knock You Out one, where it's the Marley Marl remix. I like the Jingling Baby on Walking with the Panther better. It's mainly because of the lyrics. The lyrics are more rough. They're more gritty on here. He kind of cleaned them up for Mama Said Knock You Out here. They're not as raw. I don't know how to word it. They're not as, he's not cursing as much. So I like the Jingling Baby version on this album much more. And I just like how it comes right in. That song Dropping 'Em is just such a great track. As soon as it plays, it's just so awesome. At the end of it, it sounds like the track kind of stops or something, like it kind of goes off the wheels a bit. It sounds kind of chaotic, but I love it. And even at the beginning of the song, LL's kind of yawning. He's almost like, all right, let's get to work, like I'm going to take out some more MCs without even trying that hard. I just like the braggadocious on this album. He just brags so much about himself. So here's a great example of how I love it, but I can understand why people were maybe confused. So there's a song called One Shot at Love, which is a total love song, and most dudes probably fast forward it. And then the next song is 1-800-LL Cool J, where he's just talking about how he's just, doing girls, and, he's got all the money in the world and everything, and he's just living that life. And then the song after that is Two Different Worlds, another love song. So he's sandwiched probably his most playboy, other than Big Ol' Butt maybe, but his most braggadocious shit in between two hey girl, I love you songs. That's what's so great about LL, man. He would do that all the time. And by the way, that 1-800-LL Cool J song, he definitely was the first to do that. Nas just dropped Magic 3, and he's got a song in there called 1-800-HIT-BOY or whatever. So I don't know if that's inspired by it, but that's the first thing I thought of when I saw that track. I believe it's the last song on Magic 3, so shout out to Nas. I mean, I'm sure he's definitely influenced by LL. So yeah, everybody listen, just go play this album if you've never heard it before. There's a song called Nitro that I like a lot. Fast Peg. Man, that one is a really cool story. It's really short, but it's really grimy. What he talks about, what happens in that song, and Smoking Dope in another track, and Def Jam in the Motherland. I mean, there's so many cool songs on here. Definitely everybody listening, go check out this record. It's very much underrated and slept on, and this cover is just amazing. So big shout out to Ricardo Betancourt for coming on the show and talking about it.
Hey, yo, what's going on? It's your man DJ Lord Jazz from the world famous Lords of the Underground. Right now, you're tuned in to the Infinite Banter podcast with my homie, always hitting you one time, making it funky, DJ Soundwave. Let's go.
Time for you to leave, assholes.
That is Kirk Acevedo telling me it's time to go, and that is exactly what I'm going to do. But before I get out of here, one last thing about Walking with a Panther and that album cover, what me and Ricardo were talking about. That briefcase has really got me thinking a lot. What was in that briefcase? You got the cover there. You see it with the handcuffs and everything. I was joking that it's probably his black book with all those girls' numbers in it, but he's right. If there's a way for us to find out what was in there, just to have some fun with it. Yo, LL, get on the phone here. Hit me up. Let's do this. I want to talk about this cover, man, and this album in general. Maybe just us talking about it, wanting to know what was in that briefcase. Somehow, it's in that universe. He spoke it into existence, and LL will hear this and be like, oh, man, I got to tell that dude. Who is this guy? I never heard of him, but I'm going to do it. I'm gonna put my career on the line and talk to some nobody about some briefcase on an album cover from 30-something years ago that I don't even remember doing it. It's just more of a prop. Yeah, I'll talk to that guy. Sure, whatever. That'd be cool if he did, though. No doubt. That would be one of those check marks here. LL on the show. Check. There you go. Let's do this, man. Talking with a Panther. So that would be cool. Big up, LL. This album is great, man. All these years later, I was not one of those cats talking shit about it. This album is amazing. Wanted to give a quick heads up. So B. Brian Blair, the wrestler, part of the Killer Beast tag team, has been on the show before, about 3.5 years ago. He wrote a book, and I bought it and read it a few months ago, and I've been wanting to have him back on the show, and he's going to come on in November to talk about that book. And I can't wait to talk to him. The book is really cool. It's called Truth Be Told, and B spelled B-E-E. Definitely go check it out. Follow him online, and you can see the book. And he'll sign it for you and everything. I mean, he sent it to me. I think I ordered it and got it like within a week. So he doesn't play around. You want that book, he'll get it to you. But yeah, he's going to come on the show in about a month here, and really looking forward to talking to B. Brian Blair. He has some great stories, and the book has a lot of cool stuff in there about just some of the behind-the-scenes stuff, just being on the road as a wrestler back in the 70s, 80s, and even going into the 90s. So stay tuned for that. Early November, B. Brian Blair will be on the show to talk about his new book, Truth Be Told. All right, that's it for me. Big up to Ricardo Betancourt. A lot of fun talking with him about the LL Cool J cover for Walking with a Panther. Definitely go check him out on Instagram, Ricardo Betancourt. He's got a bunch of pictures of his artwork and such. And you can definitely check him out, and there's links to his website and such. So definitely follow Ricardo. He's done a lot of good work in the past. I got to look up what he's done with Salt and Pepper because he said he did something with them. I need to check that out. But this is the Infinite Banter podcast. You can listen to it on all platforms. Rate and review the show. Follow it on social media at Infinite Banter Podcast. Go on YouTube. Type in Infinite Banter for clips from past guests. And once again, big shout out to Ricardo Betancourt. Glad I got him out of the cave. I got him to talk on the phone about this cover from over 30 years ago. Yeah, I can imagine that. You're inside creating, you're doing artwork, you're stuck in the house, you're doing whatever you're doing, living life, it's fine. Some guy wants to talk to you about something you did 30-something years ago, he might be like, I don't know. But no, he was really cool. I mean, he couldn't have been nicer about it, and it was just really cool to hear about him coming up in that era and doing photography and art. And it's just another aspect of music that I feel like doesn't get enough attention, is how these covers are made and what goes behind it. So big shout out to Ricardo Betancourt for coming on and just sharing with us his time working with LL and doing this cover. All right, that's it for me. Thanks again for checking out the show. Until I do another one of these. What's in that briefcase, L? Come on, let me know. I'm out.
Hey, asshole, get off the road.
Being on the Infinite Banter with my man Mark has been a pleasure.